Shore to shore cleaning was started with $50 and a car with no heat in the middle of the winter.
In today's episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing a friend of mine, Jeanne Marie Pfeiffer, and she is the owner of Shore to Shore Cleaning out in Suffolk County, Long Island. I've been trying to practice how to say the area that she's from. But she is based out of Long Island, an amazing entrepreneur. She's a wife, a mother, a stepmother. She has so many different roles. If you guys don't follow her on social media, I'm going to be linking all of Jeanne Marie's info down at the bottom of this video. Welcome, Jeanne Marie, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us.
Thank you for having me. And how awesome is this? I love that you have a podcast. This is so exciting.
This is going to be an introduction for my cleaning community for Jeanne Marie, and then you guys will be seeing her more on the show as I do podcasts that are not so much interview style, because she has so much to talk about, so much knowledge. So definitely keep an eye out. As I mentioned, she does have a full service cleaning business based out of Long Island, New York. She is close to hitting that $1 million mark this year, and she has been in business for going on 8 years right now. So welcome, Jeanne Marie. If you could give us just a little bit of background that maybe I haven't mentioned in my intro.
Basically, we opened the company in 2015. I was working for somebody else at the time. I wanted to grow her company. She didn't, so I opened my own company. The first 5 to 6 years, I kind of just did whatever I thought I should do. I didn't really know anything. There was no direction. There was no organization. There was so many things that I did wrong. And then coming out of the pandemic, I realized I wanted to make something out of it. And I also gained leverage in my life where I bought a house. So now I have more bills to pay and stuff like that. And I was a single mom of 3. So I had to hit the ground running and really develop the business, and it's taken off. I was doing maybe $350,000 worth of sales at that point, and we were projected to do $1 million this year. We're not hitting that target. We will shortly. I feel by June I'll be at the 12-month $1 million mark, but some changes had to happen, and there was a negative side effect to that.
Funny because it's you feel you didn't hit that number yet, but even so, you've gotten so freaking far and done so much in 1 year, which is amazing, So kudos to you. How did you scale? How did you scale to even close to hitting $1 million? And I remember your answer to me was networking and doing all the things that you do. So if you could share with us how Jeanne Marie was able to, Shore to Shore Cleaning was able to get even close to that $1 million mark. What goes into your marketing, and what do you do to market your business?
So believe it or not, up until about 6 months ago, I had never really done paid marketing. I had we've done advertisement stuff, like swag and things at events and things like that, but I've never actually paid for digital marketing. We did the regular, we created the content. I paid someone to create the content on social media, but I never paid for an ad or anything of that nature. A lot of it came from building relationships in the community, whether it was the chamber events or just showing up at other events and being like, hey, I'm Jeanne Marie, I own Shore to Shore Cleaning, so on and so forth. I had employees that worked for me that were very vocal about where they worked and who they worked for. And we delivered a good product. We weren't everybody's cup of tea, but when we showed up, we worked hard and we did our best. And if you weren't happy, I did everything to make that better. So that plays a huge part in it, because you can do all the marketing you want, but if you can't retain the client, or fix your mess ups, then you're not going to be able to scale. And I think that that's something that we did do well, is I would bend over backwards to try to appease a client. Yeah, it was a lot of it was networking and meeting people, and a lot of the growth came from that. I had to get uncomfortable. I had to show up at events where I was crawling out of my skin in the corner of the room saying, I don't want to talk to any of these people. I don't belong here. I don't know who I think I am showing up here. And showing up anyway and like just being like, whatever, I gotta do it, right? I have kids to support, I gotta do it. And it's, hi, I'm Jeanne Marie, I own Traditional Cleaning, how are you? And just like putting on that fake voice until it became who I authentically was. But for a long time, like my kids would make fun of it because I'd answer the phone and they're like, you're doing that fake voice again. I'm like, I didn't feel like I belonged in the rooms I put myself in, but I continued to put myself in the rooms with people who knew people who needed cleaning services, people who just had other networks. Or the other thing was the nonprofit work, getting involved in nonprofit work and getting involved in your community. And I didn't do it for the growth of the company. I did it because it made me feel good as a human being and it aligned with my personal values, and the company has benefited as a result of that.
You said something that was really important. We're putting yourselves in rooms that you felt like you didn't belong in or shouldn't have been a part of. We all know that as imposter syndrome. And we all deal with that at some point. Even still myself, to this day, rather than you giving up to that imposter syndrome and saying, I'm just not going to go to this event. Why should I be there? Who am I to speak? You pushed yourself through that.
Mm-hmm.
You got uncomfortable. And now, all of Long Island knows you. I mean, it's amazing seeing how many events you go to. I know you network with like Babes in Long Island. You also do a lot of your own events. You and I had a gathering this past April, and it's also exciting for me. That was the first time I ever did anything like that. So thank you for including me in that.
Yeah.
And that experience alone, taught me a lot. Now I know how to kind of maneuver getting people together and educating people. So thank you for that. You've been a real big inspiration with networking and getting out of my comfort zone. But yeah, kudos to you for getting over that imposter syndrome, putting yourself out there and getting to know people. The nonprofit work that you do is amazing. Like I said, I follow you on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I see everything that you do for your community and how you give back. And it's truly inspiring.
The thing that you were talking about, which I think is really important to like focus on, is how Carolyn and I have done these events together, where we both own cleaning companies. It's not Carolyn as the face of Cleaning Business Mentor. It's Carolyn, the owner of a cleaning company. And we both own cleaning companies and we came together. And yes, we have different territories, right? Because she's in New Jersey and I'm on Long Island. But I do that on a regular basis with cleaning companies in my backyard. And the importance of collaborating with other cleaning companies rather than competing with each other. Like there's so many houses, all the companies on Long Island couldn't clean all of them. Like we just don't have the staff to clean all of them.
True.
There's always going to be an abundant, like a surplus of demand out there. And it's a beautiful thing. Even with the economy going down, like I live in an area where there's always going to be a need for cleaning. And to collaborate with people, that has helped scale my company. Because being one of the bigger companies with the larger staff, I can take rollover work during the holidays for the smaller companies that their books are filled and they can't handle it. And they're like, hey, call Jeanne Marie and I'll do it at your price. Even if I charge more, I'll clean it at your price so you look good for the people calling you, because you were the one that was referred to them, not me. So I want to come in and like serve you well and take care of you. And that's helped grow my business. Because even when we overlap territories and like, do I really want to drive to Patchogue? We could play with Carolyn to try to pronounce that one later. But like, do I really want to drive to Patchogue? They're like, no, you're in Patchogue. Let me give this to her. And then I'll give one in Wading River to somebody else, because I'm not going to send somebody all the way up there for one house. Like, especially if it's a smaller house. Like, let me give that to another cleaning company. And that's been something I've used to also scale the company the last couple of years.
How has your life improved since becoming a cleaning business owner? Like, what has it allowed for you to do? Because I know, I see you're spending money out there, big bucks, investing into yourself, doing all the things that a lot of us aspire to do one day. So if you can just give us a little bit of insight as to how your life has improved from your cleaning business, the things that you're able to do now.
So the black and white, like 0 to 100 version is 8 years ago when I opened the company, I had about $3,000 in the bank left over from my tax return, not because I could save it. I wasn't making enough money to save it. I had my tax return. As a mom, you get those, right? In the bank account. I was driving a car that had no heat. the Savvy mirrors didn't match. It made all sorts of noises, and you can only start at a certain time, and it had to run before you could drive it, or it wasn't going to work, right? Like, that's what I was driving. And I spent $50 at Home Depot, and I borrowed a vacuum from my boss. I didn't even buy my own vacuum. I borrowed a vacuum from my boss. And I started picking up my own accounts, and Shore to Shore cleaning was started with $50 and a car with no heat in the middle of the winter, because I started cleaning on my own in
Wow.
January. Then a couple months into the business, I lost my license for an accident that I was in years prior. So then I had to hire help. I had to hire somebody with a license to drive me around to service my
Right.
account. And I got resourceful really quick. And actually, I don't even think she had a license. I just think she was willing to risk getting pulled over,
She
and
had
I
a car,
wasn't.
right?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You had a
Which broke
driver
my
and a
heart.
car.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't care if she had a license. I just cared that we got to the houses. Like,
You're like doing
that's
25 miles an hour the whole time.
that's literally how the company started. And I went from there to being somebody who could invest $100,000 into self-improvement this year. Like, I invested $100,000 into myself in 2023. And I say that, and it still like blows my mind that I did one thing for $80,000 and I did another thing for 25,000. But that's cool. One, you save money and you get to do those things. And two, everything I'm doing and every program I've been listed in is only going to help me continue to grow and learn skills that are going to compound and make me a fortune down the road. So to go from somebody who had nothing, right? I was a single mom of two. Along the journey, I had a third child, and then I took in two foster kids. One of them no longer lives with me, but I was at one point a single mom of five with a cleaning company. And I met my husband, and he has three kids, and now we're in a bigger house, and I got married, and I have this beautiful life as a mom of seven. I get to travel the country, I get to travel the world, and I get to continue to invest in myself. And that only feeds into the company, it feeds into my staff, it changes me, which changes the type of personnel I hire. I like to hire people who want to grow, who want to learn. During interviews, like, I ask, like, what are your goals? And if their goal is to just get a good job, I don't want to hire them. Like, tell me you want to own your own business one day. Like, whether it's a cleaning company or not, tell me you want to own your own business one day. Tell me that you want to buy a house, or like these big goals. If you just want to have a job,
Right.
I don't want to hire you. Like, I want to surround myself with people who just want to keep growing. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, it really is a beautiful thing. And that's all because I started this company. I continue to learn, and one of the biggest things is I continuously got uncomfortable. It wasn't just putting myself in rooms I didn't feel I belonged in. It was showing up to accounts. I was like, oh my God, this is a mansion on the water. They're never going to hire me. I'm in a hoopty, and I'm
Right.
covered in bleach, and my hair hasn't been washed in 3 days, and I just did a deep clean. So literally anybody who knows residential deep cleaning knows that dust
Oh
is like
yeah.
it's better than hairspray. Like, it just holds your hair perfectly. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, it just stays like
Yeah.
and I had the dust hair, and it just like it was a thing. And I'd show up and they'd hire me, and I'm like, wow, I never thought that they'd want to hire me. Like, do they know who I am? Like, and
hmm
I just continue to go out there and make myself be vulnerable in business in a professional sense, and just keep growing. And it's not always fun. There's days I sit and cry, and I'm like, do I want to do this? I remember
Right.
my first couple of years, people were like, oh
Talk
my God, it's
about
so
it.
great you own a company. And I'm like, yeah, but I have to be a boss. Like, the
Yeah.
company is cool. The being a
Yeah.
boss
Yeah.
part isn't cool. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be a
We get
boss.
paid
I don't want to
last.
fire people. Yeah. Or having to
They don't
fire
get it.
someone.
Oh,
Like,
true. hmm
that's uncomfortable. Having to fire somebody is one of the most uncomfortable things ever, because it's like, I like you as a human, but you're not a good cleaner, or you don't show up. The client doesn't care. Like, things like that. Like, and having to let somebody go, that sucks. Like, it sucks,
That
but
does suck.
it's part of the business. You also get to see people grow and rebuild their lives, so that's cool too.
We do have tough times. Said sometimes you sit there and cry. Same thing. Me too. Like, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they need to hear this because they might think that it's just them. Maybe they're not cut out for business, or
Mm-hmm.
they can't do it, but that's not the truth. That is how it is with everybody on every single level. Right before the call, you were telling me that you were experiencing or going through some high level issue. Don't mind sharing a little bit of that?
So what happened was, and I had to like really sit back and figure out what the cause of the problem was, and I only realized it a few days ago. Because I've been experiencing the luxurious life of a business owner that I haven't been in the business as much. And it's really cool that I got the business to a point where it can run without me, right? I can check
Right.
in with my staff for 20 minutes a day and everything runs, and I don't have to be here and I don't have to do anything. There's people that are trained that know how to do everything that I do, so I don't have to be here, right? The downside is not being here took my eyes off things that mattered for a little bit. I changed the business model over the summer to something that I knew would be better for the company. But when I made that change, some of my staff left. And then I let go of other staff members, and the team dropped about 6 people in a 2-week period. And then with that, some clients left one of my old employees. She took them with her. So I
Yeah.
lost a couple clients in that period, right? I can't prove it, but I know it happened.
Right.
And like, whatever, it is what it is. They weren't meant to be my clients long term anyway, but the company experienced some friction there. And then trying to replace them, I've had to spend a lot of money on training people that weren't keepers, and like put them to 2-3 weeks of training to be like, this isn't going to work long term. And
Right.
I've done it in volume, and it put me in a cash flow issue because I wasn't paying attention. And I had to sit down with my accountant recently and be like, listen, the company is thriving, but there's no money
Yeah.
right
What's
now. Like,
going
there's
on?
no money in the business. And like, where did it come from? And I realized where it came from, which is cool because now I know where to fix it. God, I do all this work on self-development because I used to live in scarcity all the time, which caused me to save a hell of a lot of money. And then I've worked on you're going to live in abundance, and good thing I've worked on you're going to learn to live in abundance because I got to spend that money right now. It's going. And it's like really cool that I can just like embrace that. But that's one of the pains that I've felt recently. And because we had that backslide with the change, I should have hit my 12-month rolling revenue number, should have hit $1 million by November. And I'm not hitting that. And it's like a little bit of a blow because I was like, I know I'm capable of doing it, but I also know that I have to take accountability for the fact that I chose to step away from the company for the last 3 months, really. Like,
Right.
I've been
And
to 6 or 7 different states, like 6 or 7 weeks out of the last 12. And when I'm home, there's still 7 children. So like they miss their mom. So I still have to show up as a mom on the weeks I actually am home. And I haven't been in the business as much. And now I'm like, okay, like we're gonna get back in and we're gonna get dirty and we're gonna
Mhm.
pull everything apart. And I know the new business model is beautiful. It's flourishing. It's just I had to go back a bit to then go
Just to
forward.
tweak some
And
things.
yeah, and that's part of
Yeah.
business though. Like, I'm not the first
No,
person that'll
for
tell you
sure.
that. I'm not going to be the last one. And
No, absolutely
for
not. And that's why I'm so
people,
grateful for you to share that,
yeah.
because a lot of people think they get in their head, they think it's just them, and that's not the case.
Future me owns a $5 million cleaning company in 3 years. So
That's
whatever.
right.
I know it. It's happened. Like, it's already done. It's on the checklist. Like, I have nothing to worry about. Future me owns a multi-million-dollar cleaning company. I got goals. She's looking back at me like, girl, do not worry. You're
Don't
okay.
stop now.
And yeah, and so you weren't in Denver, but I want to talk about this for anybody who was there, or if you meet with James and Angel down the road and have them on the podcast and you can reference back to them. They had a speaker come in about leadership on the last morning, and now you're in the room with 100 business owners. We all own cleaning companies, and he had all of us. He goes, stand up if you made a mistake that cost your business $10,000. Stand up if you made a
That would have
mistake
been
that
me.
cost your business $20,000. And he went all the way up and he goes, stand up if you made a mistake that's cost your business over $1 million. And there was a couple people that stood standing, some that we know, right? And a few of them shared, like, this is what I did. So when I stressed that I made a mistake that cost me the $60,000 from hitting a million, right? There are people that stood in those rooms, colleagues, people that I really look up to and admire that are like, I cost my business over $1 million. Like one
Wow.
decision, right? And like how that was such a powerful moment. Like I'm not alone. They're not alone. None of us are alone. Not one person was standing by themselves for anything. Right? I mean, I was the first person to stand when he said, "Who's peed your pants?" And I was like, "Yeah, I laugh and pee. I had kids. Like, I have no problem. There's no shame in that. Like, I have peed my pants last year." um, but like, so that was like, I have no problem embracing that. But to stand there and be like, I made a decision that cost my company over $1 million. Like, that's a lot to swallow and a lot of humility to stand there and admit that in front of all of these people that look up to you. And
Oh
like
yeah,
the humility,
absolutely.
it was such a beautiful experience that I wish everybody had the opportunity to see, because like no, not one of us is experiencing something that somebody else already hasn't experienced or that somebody else isn't going to experience after us. And again, when you collaborate and you build that community, you have those people around you.
Before I started this clubhouse group, which is now this podcast, I didn't know anybody that had a cleaning business. I just knew I was cleaning 7 days a week. I was making decent money, but I just really, really yearned for a sense of community. I was able to be connected with all the people that I have been, such as yourself, through Ricky and Dominic, and then everyone that I get to meet at all of these different conferences, because then, this is a podcast right now that everybody's listening to or watching, but we do this regularly. You can
Yes.
get on the phone. If Jeanne Marie needs something, I'm going to answer for her. She would literally text me, can you do I was on vacation, I think, when you asked me to do something, and I was like, I got you. Me, like, having these types of relationships, they mean everything, because I know that I can ask you and pick your brain and essentially save myself from making the same mistakes that you have made, and vice versa. So definitely it's so important for everybody to get out there and network. It doesn't necessarily have to be with other cleaning business owners. Jeanne Marie networks with all kinds of business owners, painters, realtors. You don't have to do this by
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely not. One of my biggest helps has been from a real estate broker, actually. I was like, what am I going to learn? And then I learned about him and how he operated his business. And I've taken so much from him. And even things I do now, I'm like, oh, if I had done that when he first told me a year and a half ago, like imagine where it'd be. Or like I'll do something, he'll be like, I told you. I
Isn't
remember
that
I
great
hired
when
a
you have
virtual
somebody
assistant. Yeah, it took me a year from his suggestion to hire a virtual assistant to
to
me
actually do it?
actually doing it. And it's the greatest thing I could have ever done for my company. And that was just on his experience as a business owner.
Like the last year, you've grown so much. Literally, it's just nonstop. Next level, next level, next goal. It's truly inspiring. I really do appreciate you sharing that with us, because not a lot of people are so open to let like, hey, shit happens, and we make
Hmm.
mistakes on every level. Clearly, $1 million mistakes are being made in other companies. So
Every day, like every day in somebody's business.
where can we find you, Jeanne Marie? Where are you mostly active on?
So there's Instagram and Facebook. I changed it. It used to be Let's Talk Dirty, but I changed it to my name. And I was like, we're gonna give this a shot. I had to play with the little spacing a little bit, but it's Jeanne Marie Rose Pfeiffer, so y'all know my middle name. Fun fact, I got to pick it myself. That's on Instagram, and then on Facebook it's Jeanne Marie Pfeiffer. So
Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. You guys will definitely be seeing and hearing more of Jeanne Marie. We're constantly talking about doing podcasts. We definitely have a lot of experience in life
yeah.
between the two of us. And then, of course, business experience, which I think a lot of people could find helpful, male and females. So yeah, I want to say thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy day.